What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the West Side Sports Podcast. As always, I am your host, Dakota Esary, with my co-host, Travis Elliott. This is the first rendition, the first true episode of the West Side Sports Podcast in video form. This is exciting. We have a lot to talk about today. We have
the best things to talk about.
Oh, dude. We have so many good things today. Hall of Fame inductions for the man, the myth, the legend of Ichiro. We'll talk about Felix's numbers. We'll transition. We'll do a little bit of talk as far as an interesting tasty report that came out from one Daniel Kramer of The Athletic today. And then we will end the podcast today talking about the latest MLB pipeline rankings. If you enjoyed this conversation and topic, please do us a huge favor. Subscribe to our podcast, West Side Sports. We would greatly appreciate it. And with that being said, we're going to jump straight into it. Dude.
Let's go.
Ichiro Suzuki.
The man.
Hall of Famer. When you hear that, what do you think?
I want to clap my hands. I get a little hyped up, but I'm like, of course he's in the Hall of Fame, man. Everybody knows he deserved it. So, except for that one guy, I guess.
And of course,
but no,
right. Of course,
that puts me over the moon.
They're anonymous? Really?
Yeah.
Like,
just so they could vote no. They go tell their friends, like, I was the guy.
5 years from now, I was that rebel who refused to...
I was the 0.3%, bro.
It's like...
I want to hear the argument. I want to hear the case for why you didn't vote. Because he might make some decent points. You never know, right? I don't know. That's what I think about it.
I look at this conversation, right? I think to myself,
mm-hmm.
What probable cause? Like, this is almost like a police detective, right? What probable cause do you have to not vote for the man who literally has the only inside the park home run in an all-star game in the history of baseball?
He was just everything about. I bet almost $900 for that picture, dude. That's Ichiro, and I've said it to the guys before. To me, Ichiro encapsulates. He is the epitome of a baseball player.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. The artistry of the hit, his just flat speed. You hear guys talking about how they had to change the way they played defense because Ichiro was hitting. They'd be like, oh, routine play. I'll just turn around and he's already standing on first base. You know what I mean? And, I don't know how many people know it anymore. I'm sure plenty of people do. But, he's right-handed. He batted righty until he decided not to. I think it was his father was like, hey, let's hit lefty. And, I mean, to me, that's why he was able to hit as accurately as he did. Because it wasn't his lead hand. Was the last one on that bat. So he could direct it wherever it went. And, the pose was iconic. I mean, in 2001, I'm 9 years old. I'm not paying attention to baseball. I don't know who Edgar Martinez is. I'm just like not a thought, you know what I mean? But everybody did the Ichiro stance at the plate. Everybody did.
I mean, when we were kids, right? Like, I remember being in my uncle's backyard and he had this little fence, and you would always tuck your shoulder, like pull up the jersey. Like, it was nostalgia, right?
Like a crosshair or something.
But I mean, if you think about Mariners and like the timeline of this organization, right? How blessed were we to go from Edgar Martinez with Junior to Ichiro, right? Like, it's... When people think of iconic organizations with players that have the top 3 percentage of all time for a Hall of Fame, it is the evil empire of the New York Yankees and the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah, dude. Us Emerald City faithful down here, like, yes.
Like Derek
we just
Jeter,
want you guys to see.
Jeter, Mariano Rivera, Ken Griffey Jr., Ichiro. 4 players that were above 90% on Hall of Fame on the first ballot.
Crazy,
it's just something it happens once in a generation. We were so incredibly blessed about it. But brother, we can't talk about Hall of Fame and the incredible, the incredible career that it was for Ichiro, right? 10 gold gloves, 10, not even 10 gold gloves, consecutive gold gloves. Did you know he won 3 silver sluggers?
I did know that. I was reading up on it a little bit. He led the league in hits 7 different times, man. And like, we were talking about this yesterday a little bit too. Like he did in those 19 years what a lot of guys struggle to do in 20 plus, in
Right.
25 years. One of my favorite stats is the only other player who would have, if they started their rookie year at 27 years old, like Ichiro did, the only other guy to get 3,000 hits is Pete Rose. And it's rarefied air, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can take, everybody's entitled to their opinions on people, right? But when it's come to the hitting ability, man, it's just it was a beautiful thing to see. I loved it, man.
And it's like, and we'll put a small bow on Ichiro. I'm not trying to give him short-sighted, but we have so much to talk about today. It's with Ichiro, it was a 27-year-old phenom that was coming from the Japanese Professional Baseball League, the JPNL, right? And there was so much question about, well, how is his game going to translate to Major League Baseball? The timing of this was so interesting because the steroid era was just kind of putting the bow on it. They were just starting to get done with the steroid era. Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, the list goes on, right? But and then here comes this 27-year-old rookie who was like when people go to a car lot, right? You kind of know what you think you're looking for. Like, well, if I want a reliable SUV, but the SUV doesn't get great gas mileage, but there's this town car that gives everything I could want, and it has better parts, and it's going to last for a longer time. It has better gas mileage. Like not to make Ichiro a car, but
the MPG, bro.
It's such an interesting thing because sluggers come and go, but as you and I talk about, legends never die.
Never die, bro.
And
that's the thing. It's the conversation of, like, would Ichiro be drafted in today's game? When you're talking about exit velocities and launch angles and stuff like that. And it's a good question. I think it's a good question. Then you look at like a Luis Arias or, something like that. And like small ball plays, bro. Yeah. You know what I mean? But, it's you get starstruck by all the big dingers and stuff like that. Or, like a 6'2", 240, 16-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's exciting. He's going to clobber the laces off of a ball. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I think my counter argument is, I don't think we'd make 116 wins if he was hyper focused on hitting the long ball, Well, he knew how to outplay the other guys, and first Japanese position player to show up, so to me that says like, well, there just wasn't really a lot of draw there, to that. So I think this is a rare case where somebody comes over from another country and our league isn't ready for them. Because now the question is, how's that going to play? Okay, this Roki Sasaki or, fill in the blank, this pitcher's really, really good. Is it going to play when he gets to, I'm sorry, these real strapping dudes up here,
Yeah.
So he did it for the sake of the game. He did it honorably, but he got to be a little bit cheeky. Which is not a big thing in that. No.
There was a big
but he was able to do it.
There was a big conversation about Haesung Kim, right?
Yeah.
So excuse me, Haesung. It's like you got two guys that are just
it's
such a tongue twister, right? He's a Dodger, so who really gives a shit at the end of the day, right? So, like everybody else in the offseason, the Dodgers just like, greens, beans, potatoes, tomatoes, they just sign everybody they want, right? But when you come in and you pave a path, right, for other players to follow, it's really something to tip your hat at and say, God, were we just lucky? We didn't even realize how lucky we were. Area 51 and right field still exists at our T-Mobile ballpark. It's a real thing. And people were dedicated. There's a lady who has had a sign, and she's had a season ticket, and I apologize if she watches this. I do not have your name, but it is a legit thing in the ballpark. She's been a season ticket holder, and she sits in the right field because she named it Area 51 for Ichiro. because all he would do was climb the wall and make absolutely breathtaking plays.
Oh,
The
circus catches, man.
Yeah, the throw that brought him on, though, and put him on the map. Terrence
Yeah,
Long,
no, for real.
who was a speedster. He was not a slowpoke,
Mm-hmm.
right? He could hustle.
Right.
And as, God bless you, Dave Niehaus, rest in peace, Terrence Long was DOA. He was done. Dead on arrival.
Yeah.
That ball was, quote, thrown like something out of Star Wars.
Right. It's funny because you can tell the runner's like, oh, I do this every day. You know what I mean? I'm just going to putter on in here. You know what I mean? No. And that, and to me, where I get hung up in like our analytical stuff sometimes too, it's the heart of it. You know what I mean? I get hung up too much in that, but it's my favorite part, man. It's my favorite part. Yeah. And, it's, you do it for the right reasons. Everybody around you, you get just a sense of oneness. And it's not like Ichiro alone brought that to the team, right? Because you don't get to the highest win rate in a regular season with just one dude. Look at Shohei Ohtani, right? Didn't make the Angels a fantastic team, right? One man is but one man.
Trout, but
even the greatest baseball player of all time. Okay, right. We're not talking about Shohei today. So that's about the much as I'm going to say. But
and I'll just put a bow on it, and then we'll transition over towards Felix. But the Seattle Mariners are such an incredibly blessed organization to have this man who was stoic. He was almost a damn near gargoyle. Like when we were kids, Gargoyles was a big TV show, right?
Yeah.
Ichiro Suzuki. As we are just a part of this Mariners community, which as we will continue to grow this and put out more podcasts and more content for you guys, right? As a part of this community, we thank you from the bottom of each one of our hearts for everything you've done for this city, for this fan base. And as you and I call this city, this is the Emerald City Faithful. And the Faithful would not be created today if it wasn't for the beginning foundation of Ichiro Suzuki. So with that being said, Ichiro, God bless you. Thank you for everything. And
thank you so much for your hard work.
Seriously. And with
he's
that
still
being
here.
Said, with Hall of Fame, we can't talk Hall of Fame without talking about Felix Hernandez because
the king.
He is the king, and he will always be the king. Right? Like King's Court was a real thing. I still have the King's Court towel and the t-shirt in my room.
Yeah, no. Felix was a vibe, man. Oh. It's like he interacted with everybody in the stadium somehow, just by being out there. You know what I mean? And he just kind of looked like a regular Joe Blow kind of a guy. But man, he could pitch. Man, King's Court is dope. I think King's Court's still there too, isn't it?
It's
in memory, kind of like in
they honor it, right? Because there's been multiple renditions of pitching things, but Felix, the conversation, and I'm gonna give a shout out to Shannon Dreyer, who does a great, absolutely A++ job on the beat for this. She does. Right?
I love Shannon Mayer.
Shannon Dreyer is amazing, and what she talks about, and she mentioned on Brock and Salk yesterday on 710 Seattle Sports Station, was that it's not so much about how long you do it. It is how high is your peak, right?
Yeah.
And Felix Hernandez was unquestionably the most dominant pitcher in the American League for 5 straight years.
Man.
And people say, well, 5 years isn't that long of a conversation. Well, we could talk about other guys like Johan Santana is a very similar quality pitcher. He did not perform well on the ballot. He's gone. He's not on the ballot anymore because you have to have a certain percentage to stay on the ballot year to year. A lot of people don't know that.
Oh, okay.
You have to have a
so 75 to make it, at 75% to make
Correct.
It, but
Correct.
like 25% to stay there.
You have to actually be 5% on the ballot every year to stay on the ballot, right?
Yeah,
it's only 5.
Gone.
A great example, Billy Wagner, who just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. There was a point 4 years ago, Billy Wagner was 9.3% on the Hall of Fame. He was like rock bottom. He was like, I don't think I'm going to make this, like realistically. Yeah. And when you look at like CC Sabathia in his first year makes it. To me, CC and I'm being as respectful as I can to Felix, CC was better. He had a longer tenure. He was fantastic in Cleveland. He was
Of high
fantastic
end.
in Milwaukee. And then he was a horse in New York.
Yeah.
Right? And Felix, it was really, the conversation was, well, he was an absolute dog in Seattle.
Yeah.
Perfect game, the whole picture, everything, right? Like
perfect game, immaculate inning, 4 strikeout inning too.
Yeah, there's a lot of
only pitcher to have all 3 of those
stats that Felix put up on the paper. So with him reaching, it was 20.3%, which some people are going to say, well, 20 isn't that high. Well, 20.3% for your first year on the ballot is incredibly encouraging.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
I'm not sweating it, man. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I think it just, he was good. I mean, he had all his stuff was good for the most part. You know what I mean? And he did those amazing things that we were talking about. But I mean, it's kind of like a Logan Gilbert conversation from last year. It's the W-L. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That makes people go like, I don't know. But I mean, it wasn't Felix's fault we were losing those games.
We just can't hit the damn ball.
Yeah. it was bleak, bro. It was bleak. I don't know. You got to be crazy to be a Mariners fan, because for all the greatness, there's a lot of low points. You know what I mean? So we're aware. We know.
Yeah.
We want to go back, and we can go back. Anyway.
With all that being said, Felix Hernandez, everything he did, it's going to have to be a campaign just like they did for Edgar. And if this Mariners organization is really good at one thing or two things, we'll say develop pitching and then promote and get their guys into the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. They did a great job with Edgar. Edgar was a huge question mark, and now he's...
Well, I mean, because it was revolutionary. No DH has ever been even considered before. So
and now you pave the way for guys for like David Ortiz, Big Papi, and other guys that come in there, Frank Thomas. The list of DHs can go on forever and ever. So
many good players.
But it's... Again, and I know we said this earlier, but we have just been so fortunate, man, being up here. And
absolutely.
A lot of people think we live in freaking Southeast Alaska, bro. Like, we're Washington State.
I mean, dude, this winter, it kind of feels like it. Not going to lie.
Well, at least the last week it has, considering, other places in the country. But
oh, look at us crying about 39 degrees.
Oh, I know. But, with the Hall of Fame and everything, it's been such a... it's been a point to rejoice, to reflect and look back on everything and all the memories and all the highlights and all the cool memories we were able to experience with these two really neat players, one of which making the Hall and the other one will continue to pay forward. But, brother, there's a report that came out yesterday from Daniel Kramer. If people don't know who Daniel Kramer is, he's essentially the Ryan Divish of The Athletic. He covers the Mariners, does a great job with it. Mm-hmm. There was a report that came out yesterday from Daniel Kramer, obviously, since we're talking about it, that the price to get rid of Mitch Haniger's 1 year, $16.3 million contract costs our top prospect on our farm system. I'll let you talk first.
The top prospect. Numero uno. No, okay, but he's like 2 years out, right? So that gives me, my brain wants to wander a little bit, but I don't know if it's worth giving up the guy. Like, he is, you know what I mean? He's the icing on the cake, is this kid. You know what I mean? And of course, everybody's going to be asking for him, but if you're really only doing it to get rid of the contract, I don't know. I don't feel it. I mean, I'm on the fence at this because Haniger has been iffy, man, last couple of years. I love him. We love him. He is the Messiah, we called him. He is the patron saint of dingers. But 2021 was 4 years ago now. And, I mean, it hasn't repeated. And I don't want to pay $16.3 million for Mitch Haniger because he rode the bench a lot. And, yeah, he was hurt, but I don't know. We got a glass cannon kind of a situation going on with Mitch Haniger. Mm-hmm. Bless his heart, man. All the respect in the world. But he's just not up to snuff as a right fielder.
Where I come from, because I got a couple different layers to this, right? It's kind of like, well, we'll talk a Shrek reference in here since we're kind of a movie. You're more of a movie guy than I
Speaking
am.
of 2001,
Yeah. It's like, ogres are like onions. Well, this is kind of like an onion because there's multiple layers to this, right? So, Mitch Haniger, and this is going to sound kind of cold, and some people are going to be like, wow, what? And please, if you have comments about this, please drop it below inside the comment section when we drop this
we
up.
try around here and on our own, we'll cry about it, but professionally, we want to keep 30,000 foot perspective. Yeah, we're homers and we're crazy for the Mariners, but we're not blinded by anything. We don't let the wool slip over our eyes. We just look at things as they are. And I think that's where the real conversation is. Not, we could say, ooh, happy things about it all the time, but it's not how it works.
So, first layer to this. Mitch Haniger, $16.3 million. It's a fair amount of change, right?
No.
People forget that we swapped him for Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray is making $25.6 million, and he's still coming in essentially the first year off of a true Tommy John year. Second Tommy John of his career. Fun fact.
Right.
But when people talk about the value of getting rid of a player, right? Or getting rid of a contract, I should say, not so much a player, because I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Mitch.
Well, you're right. Nobody's saying we don't want him around. We don't want the player.
Right. Well, it's like you have to look at the longevity of what this team can be with one player versus what they can be with somebody else, right?
Yep.
Mitch Haniger doesn't deserve to be on this roster. He should have been DFA'd and cut to start the offseason. That's the cold, hard facts.
Yeah.
If we had $16.3 million, we'd be able to put that money and go spend a bat. You could go get you and I have talked about this at absolute nauseum, and I don't want to get too far off of the tracks here.
Okay.
But if you threw $16.3 million and added onto this payroll right now, and let's say after Donovan Solano, which was 3.5, and it was projected with a complete BS, and I'm going to keep it that way, clean, of $15 million payroll, you're looking at $31 million.
Joke. No.
$31 million gets you some stuff.
Boom.
You can load this roster up. You can go tell Pete Alonso, hey, you're getting screwed. Your market's garbage. You're not going to New York.
Around.
They don't want you. Toronto said, we're good. We have Vlad. We'll give the money to Tony Taters, Anthony Santander, right?
Yeah.
He has no market. No market. So if you, in theory, were to have the $30 million, which, again, is a hypothetical, of course, because he's on the roster, because this organization and, more importantly, the front office is a bunch of tight asses who don't want to spend money.
Absolutely.
But that's a different podcast conversation entirely.
Oh, I think that we could have...
Right? Oh, boy.
Facts,
right?
though. Facts.
And we're just beating a dead horse because everybody else has talked about it too. But you cannot reasonably, as a 30-foot perspective fan, say, okay, yeah, I give away the number 37 prospect in all of baseball who's had one full season in the minor leagues to get rid of a guy on a 1-year expiring contract when he's gone, then you add that money to the books next year. It's ludicrous. It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's to me, right? It is sacrilege to say, okay, you want to take, like we talked about, well, what team realistically needs to eat money? One team, and that's the Miami Marlins, right? Because they have a requirement from Major League Baseball Players Association. They're required to have a floor, to have a certain amount of money at their floor of spending for the upcoming 2025-2026 season, or else they are going to be fined substantially. And I mean millions and millions of dollars, and draft prospects will be taken if you do not do this. Wow. And what are we? It is January 22nd. We're less than what? We're 3 weeks from pitchers and catchers reporting to spring training, and the Miami Marlins have added zero money. So they don't care about adding money. So at that point, if teams are saying, well, if you want us to eat $16 million, it's going to cost you your top prospect, then at that point, you have to just bite the bullet. And if he sucks, you just DFA, cut him, and eat the money, which they should have done to start the process or the offseason, but we already said that earlier, right? So that's layer number one, right?
It's juicy, dude.
Layer number two is, does it have to be Cole Emerson? Like, you and I have talked about this ad nauseum. with two. There's
Right.
like multiple things we
Counter
talked
offer, dude.
about, and I know we're starting to repeat ourselves here, but Toronto Blue Jays and the Mariners have been linked as many times as we've heard the Mariners and the Cubs linked. Cubs being Nico Horner, Bo Bichette being Toronto, right?
Okay.
Bo
Yeah.
Bichette and Mitch Haniger have the same amount of money. They're like $1 million to $750,000 difference. There's not much.
Okay.
So if you say, we'll take Bo Bichette's contract, you take Mitch Haniger's contract, and we'll toss you a middle round prospect. We'll give you 15 to 17. We'll give you, I know people that aren't a big prospect.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to talk about people they don't know, but like Ben Williamson, you could talk about like Hunter Cranton, any of the guys they drafted in this last year's draft, right?
Oh, I mean, people talk about how good our farm system is. Like, there's plenty of names in there you could pull out. You're like, oh, hey, that's a good idea, but we're not down to give you Colt Emerson. How about this, this, and that? And what if they said, well, we want these two smaller fish or whatever? You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's good. It's one way or another, it's going to bite, I think. But we want something to be done. Something has to happen.
I mean,
so.
And the last layer to this, right? And then we'll put the bow on the Daniel Craner conversation. Then we'll transfer to our kind of our last segment here, and then we'll hop off. You look at what this tells, or what the baseball is saying from the like reading the tea leaves, right? So if baseball is saying, well, you want us to eat a veteran contract that you decided to take to shed $9 million for Robbie Ray, it'll cost you this prospect. What that tells me is quite simple. Okay, Colt Emerson's a dude.
Yeah.
He's a dude. And like, I'm not willing to give the dude, and a lot of people are going to say this is ludicrous. Again, drop this down in the comment section below if you disagree with us. His direct comp, and if comps are such a hard thing for prospects, it's no different than NFL draft, right? It's Corey Seager.
For sure.
And I'm not going to give a possible Corey Seager-esque level player for a 1 level or 1 year expiring contract. That's pure stupidity.
Yeah, who knows, man? I mean, like, what if our lineup is bursting at the seams in 2 years, and he's just comes in there and just perfect? You know what I mean?
We need a Robin.
I want to see successful. I want to see a successful position prospect for the Mariners.
Yes.
We do the pitching really, really well. Really well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We great at that. But I want to win. I want that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You know,
I want to see a win.
Yeah. And my last comment on this, right? And feel free to pitch in, and then we'll transition. This team is in such a weird spot right now. This offseason has been, and I'm not going to hold back. This is the crappiest offseason they have had in the tenure of Jerry Dipoto and Justin Hollander. It's garbage. You signed.
I was saying something after last year.
Yeah. Well, you can say 54% and piss off the fan base is one thing. You you sparked the fire and then failed to make the playoffs. So the embers stayed hot. And then you did nothing by signing Donovan Solano, and not to be disrespectful to Donnie Barrels, because Donnie Barrels is a great nickname, right? But
fantastic nickname.
This team has multiple blatant holes all over its roster. You have a hole at first base. You have a hole at second base. Some people will disagree with me. You have a hole at shortstop. J.P. Crawford does not have, and he does not deserve a roster spot on this team. That's going to be a hot take. Drop comments below.
Dude.
If you disagree with me, or if you agree with us, please do. But third base, there hadn't been a third baseman after they got rid of Gino because they thought he was going down an expiring contract and his bat speed was going down, and turns into Shohei Ohtani in Arizona.
Yeah.
Like, you got Nolan Arenado on the market. You got Alex Bregman still hasn't signed. Ha-Sung Kim hasn't signed. There's guys, Pete Alonso, like we talked about a few minutes ago. There's guys out there that are needing money. And somebody's going to get desperate because just like last offseason, Scott Boras is a moron.
Yeah.
Who's like, my guys are going to get paid and it's going to happen. Well, guess what? Matt Chapman took a 1-year deal and Blake Snell took a 1-year deal. Both of them signed extensions. like over 3/4 of the way through the year, besides for Blake Snell because he was a free agent, went to the Dodgers. Ooh la la, no pun intended. For LA, and God bless all the people with the fires and all that terrible stuff in LA. But
amen.
This is going to be something we continue to monitor and keep our eyes on because Daniel Kramer said the Mariners are still ready, quote unquote, ready and able to make a big move before before spring training starts. Hey, guess what, Jerry? Hey, Justin, I hate to break to you again. It's January 22nd. Clock's ticking. Get going. Mariners fan base are sick and tired of you guys sitting around your hands saying, we didn't get Josh Naylor. We didn't get Carlos Santana. We didn't trade for Nico Horner. We didn't do this, that, and the other. We didn't sign people. We ain't going to talk about the name of the person, a buddy of ours, who was upset about not signing Paul Sewald, who got 1 year and $7 million in Cleveland. You know who you are if you watch this video. Thank you, buddy. But there are players that are taking money. And it's time to step up to the plate and say, don't give a damn. If you are saying, well, they're not really worth this, and we only want to pay them 75 cents on the dollar. You pay them $1.25. You shut your mouth and you go do it. Stop making excuses. We don't care.
Especially when you're sitting in a spot like you just need bodies. We just do not have a third baseman. No. We do not have an everyday second baseman. No. You know what I mean? JP spiked and then just fell off.
Yeah.
So I'm not confident in that one either. You know what I mean?
Because he's given us no reason to.
I know why we walked away from, R.I.P. Dr. Automatic. Our boy ain't that anymore.
And for those who are...
Ty France.
Ty France. Yeah. The legend of Ty
I don't think he was a problem, but I saw why we moved away from it. But, there we go. But my point being, that's another hole in your infield. Yeah. I mean, I think the outfield is delicious right now. I'm pretty happy about it. You know what I mean? But this just... When we have prided ourselves on defense for years and years and years, and now you don't have guys out there. I mean, Dylan Moore is an animal when it comes to defense. I'm pretty confident in him defensively. But, I mean, your defensive numbers aren't going to look really good if you have a lot of no-name guys on the bases. That's my big concern. Just need somebody out here. Dude, if I can swallow the puke in my mouth to consider Alex Bregman, bro, do something, man. Get us somebody he can hit. That's what we need. It's what we've always needed for 50 years, bro.
And the reason why we need an Alex Bregman kind of player, and this is a perfect transition into our last topic, is we need bridge. We need a bridge player. We need players to come in to get us to that next wave of prospects. Mariners have 7 prospects, and MLB Pipeline, who came out, their top 100 list came out today. If you like prospects, this is cool. If you don't, you might not like this conversation. Apologies, but it's fun to talk about, right? That 7 positional players are in the top 100 for the Seattle Mariners, the most of any team in Major League Baseball. To me, it's the same conversation we had about, we've heard about the Baltimore Orioles, Jackson Holliday, Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo, the list goes on, right? So the challenge with this is we have to bridge where we are at with Julio, Cal, Randy Rosarena, Luke Raley, Victor Robles, the list goes on, right?
A lot of bills come due.
Right. But, yeah, that's the point, is that guys are going to want to get paid. And we need to find a way to bridge this. And the only way to bridge that is to bring in players who are capable of playing at a level that this team is capable of doing.
Right.
So, it's going to be really interesting to see if they decide to wake up, smell the coffee that's been roasting like the crap people drink at Starbucks all the time. It's not to be rude. Starbucks coffee is trash. But, I mean, the coffee beans have been roasting since November. And there's
no, it's
happening.
caked on the bottom of the pot right now.
Yeah, you're going to have to get like a putty knife and scrape it off the bottom. It's been so bad.
For real, dude.
With that being said, brother, we're gonna put a bow on this podcast today. This has been such a blast. Thank you to everybody who's tuning in and watching this. We greatly appreciate you. God bless. Much love. We will have more content coming up in the foreseeable future. We're going to try and do 2 podcasts a week. Might do Monday, Friday. We might do Tuesday, Thursday. We'll keep you guys updated. You can find me on Twitter at PNW Professor. You can find Trav here at It's a Travesty. Do us a favor. Follow us. Do what we do best. We'll keep you posted and everything and all the information. And until next time, as we always say, stay beautiful, baby.
Gang, gang, boys.